Definitely not.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris the High Guy Jacobs, and today we are taking a look at another episode of Who TF Are You? And on the channel today, we've got the one and only gotdamunchies. Pardon me, let me repronounce that so I can get the D properly. Gotdamunchies. As you might know, I'm in English chat in Doomsday. First and foremost, gotdamunchies, thanks very much for tuning in. Let me just give you the next couple of seconds to go ahead and introduce yourself and let the good readers know where you're from.
Well, my name is Leo. Like you said, I'm the EC King, the King of EC. I rule that. That's my home. That's my town. I'm from region 395. I play with Sin and I play with Skill. Let me see. Want to meet my baby mama? You gotta meet her, you guys. Let me just real quick.
They just get cuddled up nice. That's good.
Hey, you got to with the wifey up.
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, brother.
No, sorry, I interrupted you. You go ahead.
It's all right. I've been around this game, I think roughly 8 months. So around the same time as the high guy, and it's been crazy and it's been fun.
So let me ask you, when we get started here, what was it about Doomsday that brought you into the game? Like, what did you like most about it when you first started?
Well, I like zombies, so I like playing anything zombies, like Call of Duty, Black Ops. That was always my shit.
Oh,
I would
nice.
always get mad. Nobody would join me, and then I just got tired of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna download another zombie game. All my friends, nobody's here. Everybody's busy. Everybody's too good for me. So yeah, I'm like, I have free time. So you know what? Let me see what's up with another game. Oh, and I lost all my guns on Call of Duty. So I didn't even want to try. I spent like
Oh,
so much
no.
money. I didn't want to try to get back into my account.
No doubt.
So yeah, and then I seen this game and I seen it had a chat, like the EC channel, and I seen everyone talking shit. And I was never in it at first, but I already knew like this is gonna be my home. This is gonna be my home game.
You know,
I'm gonna talk my shit.
yeah. And that's exactly what EC does. Like I was talking about in a previous conversation, it goes through some really interesting ups and downs. So it goes into like really awesome conversation with some really dope people that you really like to get to know, and then they end up leaving, and then it goes into this like really weird kind of not English anymore, where people from a different language come in and invade the English channel, and then all of a sudden it gets super racist for a little bit, and then it goes back to not speaking English, and then it goes back to the really cool people again. So it has this like really up and
Yeah,
down wave way. So let me ask you,
definitely.
yeah. So let me ask you, what is it about the game that keeps you playing now?
I say, well, it got really boring like without Dark Seal and IR, but I really say that it's the community and AR,
Right,
and
you still
just
like
getting to
AR.
grow, hoping that um that Dark Shield comes back in IR. Well, I don't think they ever got rid of IR. I think that's still in play, but I think Dark Shield is just getting revamped.
So that's what they've said so far. They've said that they're revamping DS, and with IR, it's still technically there, but it's still kind of confusing because they've introduced GW, right? Genesis War. So once they've introduced Genesis War, it's kind of taken the position of what IR had, of Island Raid had, pardon me. And now whether they do both, I'm not sure. So we've had an AR already. Now we have Genesis War coming up this week. So I guess we'll have to see what the next event is. If it goes back to our Archipelago Raid, then I have no idea what their plan is for Island Raid either. And I'd really like to know, because those are some of the better events. Island Raid and Dark Seal, in my opinion, are some of the better events to play. I love those events.
Can't go wrong with IR. I mean,
It's just a great battlefield, you know what I mean?
Battlefield and you get a free visa, you get great rewards. And Genesis War, it's fun. It's not too bad, but it's not really worth the rewards. Like I feel like they want you to get little rewards so you can spend more. Like the game,
Yeah.
it just gets more expensive as you go on.
This has been kind
And
of the yeah. Go ahead.
I feel like lower quality with like when it comes to events like well, let's say Metal Slug. Events like that where you can earn something is lower quality, but when you buy something like a troop skin, like $300 whatever skin, then that's when it's more, how do I say, more beneficial.
Right. It's something that I kind of feel has been something that they're stepping away from, which is accessibility for the average player. If you look at the events that they've recently put out, or if you look at like the Metal Slug event, for example, or if you look at like the way that they've changed, the All-Star Night now or Top Commander, it's really designed in a way to maximize as much money out of their whale base as they can. And I think the problem with doing that is the fact that you've really made the average person inaccessible. The helicopter, for example, is $500 and the average person isn't going to have it. But the amount of benefit that the helicopter brings in game is pretty phenomenal. Like it's a huge difference comparatively, which just increases that, that separation between the haves and the have-nots. If they made that a helicopter only $100, and I've asked this of everybody, let me ask you, do you have the helicopter yourself yet?
Oh man, I wish. Actually, that's gonna be. So I was thinking, I was actually going to get myself a mammoth, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, will that really be beneficial to me, or would that just look cool? So what would I rather have in the game? Something that just looks cool to me, or something cool and beneficial at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, I think the helicopter is worth a good investment, and you get like good packs, like frames and stuff. Like someone had that one pumpkin frame that I like, that Halloween one, and I'm like, well, if it has that, especially, I'll buy it. I'll be happy getting my money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
I really see the difference because my leader, I used to watch her when she would fight, and then she bought that, and it's just drastic change.
Well, and that's the thing. Like as soon as you invest in something like the helicopter, which, and don't get me wrong, again, I still have to comment. It's $500 in order to get the helicopter, right? It makes it unachievable for a lot of people. Myself, for example, I spend on average about $100 to $200 a month, depending on the month and depending on the exchange rate. Which, if you think about it, is only accessible if I use all of my spending for that month specifically on the helicopter. They don't have any smaller packs. But I can guarantee you, if that helicopter was only $100, for example, to acquire, you'd have 5 times as many people purchase that helicopter because of the impact of what it has in the game.
Definitely.
Right? Like if it was $100, you'd probably have it much sooner than what it will be eventually, right?
Definitely. You have to. I feel like for a game to run, you kind of have to separate the spenders from the non-spenders.
Mm-hmm.
So because then if everybody has it, then everyone has it, and everyone just has like, I wouldn't say the same, but like the advantage is just like everyone has it. It's
I
kind of
think
like nothing, not a change.
right. So I think the difference is having access to it at an earlier rate. So like I said, I've always agreed with the pay to win model. They have to have pay to win options. They have to have pay options in order for them to generate income. Totally understand that. But the difference becomes the accessibility. If you're prepared to spend $100 upfront today and get access to it, and then whatever $100 to upgrade it maybe fully, so it's maybe only $200, at max to be able to fully upgrade it and customize it yourself, versus 500 to have it entirely. Yes, they might end up losing a little bit of income from those whales because they're going to have those spenders anyways. But the sheer amount of other people that will now have access to it means that they should, in theory, generate more income from it. The only difference being the time at which it is to acquire it. Like, I believe the game would be best suited and best balanced if things were available to be achieved specifically over time. Yes, it might take a long time, but I should be able to acquire that helicopter by simply putting in maybe $20 a month. You know, putting $20 a month for the next 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, right? Whatever their limit is, there should be accessibility at that point. But if that purchase is $100 as your limit, it's like already you're telling the majority of your group, like, you're never going to acquire this.
Definitely, I agree.
So let me ask you now, you've been playing for, you said about 400 days or so, right?
Correct.
So in that amount of time, what have you seen that you really, really thought was a good move by the developers? Like, what's a change that you really thought, you know, brought some really good balance, or maybe brought some really good accessibility to the game?
I definitely adding in Bard, Casey,
So some of the new heroes.
The new heroes. That my event, I really loved it at my event. Personally, I think they gave her really good armor arms.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like a really cool character to play with. Like, I feel like they made it kind of not fair because, like, it's a game. You have to spend, you know, to get stronger. But if you wanted to be strong, you had to buy her arms. You know, of course, you want to get so much stronger. Like Bard, you have to go and do the event. Like Top Commander,
Mm-hmm.
you have to go. You could get his super weapon. You know, and that is what I like. I like the add-ons. I like more strength, of course. Like the helicopter, I would absolutely love that. I love. Let's see, what updates did they do? You know what? I didn't agree with the regional update at first, but I didn't quite understand it until I read more about it. And you know, you're still able to move around, go to different regions, but now you just have to wait if you're in a newer region. And I feel like when you have too many new people coming from a different region, they don't know how to play. So they come into your alliance, you know, messing everything up, fighting. You get towers and everything. People trust, you know, people that have no experience as R4, and then it makes it negative. People stop playing. So I just feel like more people should have at least some more experience and more of how, like, a feel of how the community is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that brings up some really good points. They changed the way that migration works a little while ago. And when I say a little while ago, I think it's now about 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that, which made it far more accessible for players to move between regions. It used to be based on a lot to do with might and how many passes you had to have based on the might that you had. And then it was basically an open season where they opened it to everybody could move fairly easily, fairly cheaply. And then the recent change was when they made it interregional, so multi-regional alliances. So you could actually be in an alliance without leaving your region. So we, for example, have a player who's in region 530, but staying in our alliance because he's participating with us for events and things like that, right? So it's a change that allows for much more accessibility at the cost of, I think, some of the balance towards the average player. So when you look at something like Top Commander, for example. Sorry. If you look at Top Commander, for example, they made it multi-regional. Well, now it's much harder to place in the top, 1, 2, or 3 than it was previously. So it's much harder to achieve those max rewards than it was inside your own region, when you could strategize with the region to see who is performing and who is participating and things like that. So once they open that up to multi-regional aspects, it really added a different imbalance to the game. Now, they did respond by trying to balance the rewards out of it. So they had, I just looked into it, you have to only get top 30 now to get 10 frags to acquire instead of 15, which is a much better change. But then they gave 250 to the top 1, just to give them more frags. Like, why does the top 1 need more? They're already in first anyways. Why do you have to give them more,
Right.
So let me ask you here, gotdamunchies, who is your favorite character? Who's your favorite hero in the game right now?
Well, that I have.
Even if it's one you don't have. Even if it's one you don't have.
Well, I think personally, I love being a range main, but I kind of like I love all of the groups. I love infantry, range, riders, but I think I'm falling in love with more of the riders. Like I was when I first played, I was more in love with infantry. My two thoughts were I'm gonna get Miyamoto Max because he has, a good amount of speed. He's a good fighter, along with that Dut. And then, I went on to range because I wanted to get more points faster. And now I'm like, well, yeah, they die off and I get good kills. But now I want to be fast on the battlefield. So now I want Bella. Bella, I'm absolutely in love with. Just seen her on the field. Or Casey, I can't lie, Casey is hot. We all know Casey is hot.
She be banging. Yeah, I feel you.
Yep. If she has that cat, she looks badass. A biker cat woman, and she's really great on rattling towers. And I want to have that advantage because, of course, when you play, you should focus on one group, of course. But for me, I like to play all around because I get bored just, not running, being on the field, not playing bounty ground, and or going and hunting farms or going and hunting people. Cause
it's a great
that's what I
yeah, it's a great point to bring up. Like when you're looking at what type of troops you want to play as, they all have their pluses, they all have their minuses, and they all have and unfortunately the game itself doesn't teach you those. You really have to learn them or take the advice of people who have made that mistake before themselves. So, just like you said, when you first started, you were infantry, then you wanted to start doing more ranged, then you wanted to start doing more riders because you started to see the ramifications of each of those troop types and what you're able to do with them. Well, the problem, with myself is that as soon as I get invested with infantry, I see ranged going off and I see riders going off, and I'm like, well, I've already spent so much into infantry. If I switch now, I'm just chopping my feet out. So I have to maintain finishing my infantry first. Once that's done, I'll probably move into riders myself just because I want to have that extra speed. Just like you mentioned, like I pair a Dut and Miyamoto together just to be able to keep up with anything in the field. And, having to sacrifice some armaments, for example, just to get travel speed to be able to compete it's not ideal, right? It's not what you want to do. I'd rather much rather have block, lethality, squad damage or anything like that instead. So it's definitely one of those things, but with how much I've invested already, if I take a step away from infantry, like my tier 5s can hit pretty good for tier 5s. I can fight tier 6 and still see, balanced exchanges. I'm still losing, but not nearly as bad as it would be the other way. If I was to throw my riders out, they get melted quickly. So I throw my riders and my ranged out knowing they're going to get melted quickly just so that my infantry can get out and smash as much as it does. Like it's the worst kind of cannon fodder.
I do. It's funny because I do the same tactic too, but like differently. So, because I know that range are slow as hell. So I'll bring like a rider or something to distract somebody. And well, actually, I'll use no, scratch that. I'll use ranged to go and fight and get kills, and then I'll sneak up with riders, and so I can still cement, and then have them run back home while I'm fighting everyone else with the
Mm-hmm.
range or the infantry, because infantry for defense and range, just murder, just
Mm-hmm.
slaughter everybody.
That's what Lewis does, especially when you get him awakened. Having that full AoE circle makes him hit pretty hard. That's why I was kind of surprised they decided to give him a skin. You know what I mean? Like, they gave him a skin. I'm like, he didn't really need one. He was still pretty good without it, you know?
Yeah, and when they came out with that skin, I tried like that little deal they had where it said like, 'cause I wanted to know, I was in love with that skin because
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I guess you could say emo, kind of like a goth guy a little bit. So I'm like, I love that. I love that whole Dracula thing going on. So I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna try this out. I tried it, and to me, I don't know if it's just because I'm a little Mike or whatever, but I'm like, what the fuck is the difference, dude? Besides that, this shit looks cool as hell. Like, is there even a fucking a difference? Like, I don't see no
Not
difference.
really.
It says you'll murder everybody more and this, that. I'm like, where's all the talk at? I just tried it, or is it just because it's like a trial thing?
No, it's just because is your Lewis awakened? Yeah, well, that's the difference. The unfortunate aspect is that it becomes better when he's fully awakened because awakening is such a heavy deal for those characters, right? It's either going to give him a passive, it's going to update one of their skills, and I think with his, it updates his range. Like I said, it used to be just a cone, but it updates to the full 360 circle, right? So once you have that type of thing, especially in Garrison or especially in if you're going to use him on the field, for example, where he already has utility, it makes him a little bit better, and it gives him some more heal and some more sustainability and stuff like that. But it really is subpar. The skin itself was very subpar. And then they come in and give the Calamity Sister skins, which were the exact opposite. They were just fire skins, right? This takes these two heroes that were useless pretty much. And now anybody who got the Lewis skin feels insulted, and I would too. I would feel absolutely insulted if I spent that much on the Lewis skin, and then you get two skins for a cheaper price that are way better. Like, I think the developers really dropped the ball on that one for sure. Don't get me wrong, skins, they look great. Love them. Love them. But for $400, I don't know about that. That's a big hefty investment, $400. All at once anyways.
Right. It's like what do you want to do? Do you want to buy the skins? Do you want to buy the arms? Do you want to buy a helicopter? That's all sorts of stuff to think about too.
Well, that's exactly what I spoke with Ultimo about. Funny enough, because of how much stuff has been put out, it makes it very difficult to maintain the hyper focus that you kind of need in this game, right? Especially as a free-to-play player or an underpay player, pardon me, or someone who might consider themselves a small fish or something like that in the game who spends a little bit. It's almost like the value of what you're getting for it. It makes it so difficult to stay focused because there's so many little things to look at. Do I look at parts? Do I look at my vehicle? Do I look at my upgrades? Do I look at my armaments? Do I look at, do I spend on hones? Well, the theory is you kind of have to spend on all, but it's just like it is with troop types. In order to be efficient, yes, eventually you need your infantry strong and you need your riders strong and you need your range strong. But you have to look at what's most important now. What's your hyper focus now? For me, it's infantry armaments when I can get them, hones when I can get them, but most of it is vehicle stuff because that's where the most bang for your buck comes right now.
Definitely.
So,
and I love that word.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said I love that wording too, bang for your buck.
Yeah, well, that's effectively where you're getting the most amount of might right now, most amount of influence. And don't get me wrong, armaments still play a huge part too. But with the introduction of vehicles and the levels that those vehicles go up to and the amount of influence that those vehicles have, it's If you're spending on anything, you should be spending on two things: armaments and vehicles. Very simple. Your parts will go up in time. They're expensive as hell, and they're not nearly as influential. So if you're going to spend on something, spend on armaments and spend on your vehicle upgrades.
Definitely.
But don't get the tank, because the tank is crap.
Yeah. Have you tried it yet?
I have the tank on my big account.
So it's like a big rip off from.
Yeah, it's not, in my opinion, it's not very good. I would much rather have spent the money on the Calamity Sister skins instead of having to spend it to get the tank. But I spent it on the tank instead.
And how much did that cost?
About 400.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So, and it's not even better than the helicopter?
Nope. Not even close to better. Because I'll give you the main difference. The main difference between the helicopter and the tank. The helicopter, the car, the truck, and the Beetle, you can all customize with parts, right? To make them kind of specific. They each have their, like, inside, they each have parts. You got wheels, you got an engine, you got turbo, could be a back wind, wind tail, whatever. You can upgrade those parts. In the tank, there's none of that. There's only, so you get like half as much of the base stats. The base stats, there aren't as many of them to upgrade, so there's no real benefit to it. And the actual stats that you get from it are nothing compared to what the actual helicopter gives you. So if you're going to spend, the helicopter is far better than the tank, and the Calamity Sister skins would have far more influence than having the tank would. Don't get me wrong, the tank looks cool, right? It's cool to see it marching on the field, but it really doesn't bring as much as you would expect for the price that it costs to get it. Now, some people got lucky and got it for way cheaper, right? So you could get it for effectively for free, right? If you were super lucky, there'll be some that got it for free. But I was not. It took me almost clearing the whole wheel until I got that one whole thing. So about 400 or something like that to clear the wheel.
Jeez, ridiculous.
And unfortunately, especially nowadays, that's just to keep up. That's not even to get ahead. That's just to keep up, So you can see how the game is starting to get pressed a lot more for people who are specific to spending that every single week or every single month. Right? But it gives you a lot to think about. It gives you whether you spend it on armaments or whether you spend it on the parts, parts for your vehicle upgrades, or whether you spend it on the vehicles themselves. There's so many different things to choose.
I feel like on a certain type of level, though, like certain things, like for non-spenders, are just a little bit Well, of course, if you're a spender, it's gonna be easy for you. You buy whatever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say players that don't spend as much and just let's say players that don't spend that much, and then this new player comes in from like a new region, and like even with the changes, I still to me, I still see that I'm seeing people that get like TC heroes easier. Like this girl, she barely started playing. She didn't, of course, I think she spent a little bit on some diamonds, but not as much. Man, I saw that she got KC like real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
There are a couple times where I give them a lot of credit where they have made it more accessible. So back in the day, for those who didn't know, your TC heroes, there was only one, and they rotated in cycles. So instead of now how you can pick who your TC hero is that you actually push for, back in the day, you didn't have that capability. You had to play with whoever was on and whoever was available at the time. They opened that up, so now you could choose your heroes and participate in the ones that you wanted, and that became very beneficial and accessible to the average player. So that became something that was a really good change for them. And, you know, with their changes to TC, pardon me, where, like I said, now you only have to get top 30 in order to acquire the hero. There is much more accessibility to the hero base themselves. But I've also come to terms with the fact that the hero themselves is far less influential as the armaments and the vehicles and the upgrades that they have from there. Like, I don't know how many times I'm still seeing, you know, heroes like Charlie in battle. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad hero, but theoretically, he shouldn't be still as impactful as the line of infantry heroes that we have, right, in the legendary standpoint. But because of the fact that he can lay back on those armaments, on the equipments, and the vehicles, and still come out good on exchanges, means there's a bit of an imbalance that we need to address, I think.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. But that being said, my friend, gotdamunchies, we've been chatting now for a little over a half an hour. I think we're going to wrap it here. I'm going to give you a couple of quick minutes here just to go ahead and give out a shout out to your region or your alliance or any of your friends that you want to get shouted out to. Go ahead and take this time and say hello to the community.
Yo, shout out to everybody. Shout out to Sin. Shout out to 395. Shout out to the High Guy. You know, really appreciate it being on here. You know, shout out to Pandy. Shout out to everybody. You know, shout out to Region 1, Prim, all the other alliances I've been in. You know, I can't remember. I've been in a couple alliances. But shout out to everybody who's just been supportive of me and my friend here. And, you know, just a really, really great community. And, you know, I'll see you and go talk some more shit, because that's what I do.
You'll definitely see him in the English chats, that's for sure.
King of EC, again, my baby mama, you know, I didn't find no love, but, you know, I got my baby mama, and this is what all I need, you know, so. I'm in heaven. I don't, you know, back off of here with my food, skeleton. I'm in love. I'm in love with the skeleton, even if it's not real. It's real to me. It's real to my heart.
As you can see, folks, he is one hell of a character. Anyways, folks, I'm just going to give you one more. If you do like what you heard and you had fun as I did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that comment section down below. Share the stream with your friends. Share it with your friends. Make sure that everyone gets involved. Again, if you want to get involved yourself and you want to sit in the hot seat just like gotdamunchies here did, feel free to reach out to me in the chat, in the comment section, or private message me in game. Like I said, this segment is here to try to get the community voice and the opinion from the group, and that won't actually happen unless we can get talking with everybody. So gotdamunchies, thank you very much for tuning in. But that is it for me today. So love, peace, chicken grease, and until next time, stay lifted.